You are live. Hey, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to Married to My Business Partner. Kelly and Harlan Pickett, we're here to share with you um, just our process and how we have successfully run two businesses while still loving and being married to one another. All right, fantastic. So to start off, I'd like to welcome you again, all here. Thank you guys so much for being here. We are lucky enough to be cross-platform today. So we are not only on LinkedIn, but also Facebook and YouTube. So for all of you out there, no matter where you are, be ready to give us your comments, share with us any emojis, give us some thumbs up, some love when you are inspired. So we definitely want to let you know that we will be recording all of these episodes. Of course, for LinkedIn viewers, we'll be replaying on LinkedIn, and then they will live on our YouTube channel at Harlan or H Pickett Insurance Brokerage is the YouTube channel that they will be on. Okay, fantastic. So to get started today, we are going to be talking about creativity and implementation. So I think we touched on it last time about how it's good for everybody to stay in their own lane, but there is crossover. So in this particular area, this is where crossover happens a lot for us, and that is in the creativity and implementation field. I think you will all be surprised to know that Harlan plays a huge role in creativity, especially when it comes to plan design and taking and growing and developing the offerings that we have for people in our company. So it's really important to know that you can bounce back and forth, right, between who is taking the creative role. But I think it's very important that you take on, don't cross. So if someone is creating in the project, the other person has to take on another role, because then that's where conflict can come about. Speaking of conflict, I will have to say that creativity and implementation are one of our top 5 struggles. We talked about this before the show, about what we think is the most difficult. And this is definitely one of the top 5 because it's hard for, especially Harlan, I think. It's hard for him, and I'll let him mention or talk about this in just a second, but I think that it's hard for him because I take care of all the implementation. So I kind of know what to expect. But when he's in creative mode, he doesn't think about those things. He doesn't focus on what that's like. So Harlan, tell me what you experience when we're working on a project together and it requires that creativity to come out on your side.
Well, I think one of the missing pieces that I believe that you kind of sometimes forget too is that I was doing this before you came to work with me this time. And so I had all of it, right? I mean, I was doing all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever that looked like, I had to do it. There was no one else to do it. I truly was a one man show. Maybe I bounced ideas off of you, and maybe you helped me with, working in Excel. I'll just work in an Excel spreadsheet, or where do I find this on a PowerPoint or something like that? Because maybe you knew, or maybe we learned together on some of these cases.
Yeah.
But whenever I was doing this previously, or before you came along about 3 years ago and started working with me pretty deep into Eagle Care, I was doing all of it myself, and that's tough to let go. I mean, that's been one of my most difficult things, is letting go of this stuff. Now we're in a different place, so when you think of it that way, if I'm a one man show, I move as fast as I can. That's it. My focus is on, I came up with this idea. Now, what does it look like? How fast do I want to get it done? If it's my priority, I get it done right now. That's very simple, right? I throw everything else to the side and I get it done right now. But when you're working with someone else, just because it's my priority doesn't mean it's going to be yours. Now, if it's the company's priority, we've put lots of things aside for both of us when we've had to do things that were the company's priority for whatever that looked like. There are times that a client needs something and they need something right now. Our broker that is working with one of our plans needs something for an implementation or an enrollment or whatever that looks like. And we've kind of got to say, hey, it's time to put this other stuff. Let's get this done. Because it could drag on for days or we could get it knocked out in a couple hours. So we work on it together. But I think that's one of the most difficult things I've had to do is I've got to understand that just because it's my priority doesn't mean it has to be a priority. And it certainly doesn't mean it's going to be your priority whenever you've got as much, if not more, on your plate than I do. So that creativity, that the things that I do very well on the crazy ideas for plan designs, the different things that I come up with, that there's other time that's the other part of it too. I think I got to watch out for myself and say, hey, I want to do this. And I give you no background on it. Sometimes I don't go into deep about, and you're like, why are we doing this? I'm like, it doesn't matter. You just do it. It's going to be awesome. And the reason I want to say it like that, I think, is because I don't want you to talk me down. It's such a great idea. I don't want you to tell me all the things that are wrong with it. And that's been another little hurdle that we had to jump over is, you ground me very well and you ask the questions that needed to be asked that I didn't want to ask myself because it was such a great idea. I didn't need somebody bringing me down.
I know, right? The process brings you down.
Right. The reality of the situation, which there's more than once that I've called you a negative Nelly because you just don't let me just do what I want to. Right. But it really isn't. It's us dealing with it in that way where I call you a negative Nelly as a term of endearment because you're not bringing negativity. You're bringing a reality. It really is. You're fact checking me. You're giving me a reality check. You're saying, how feasible is this really? And then at the end of the day, you're like, this is a great idea. I can see us implementing this third quarter. Whoa, you want the third quarter of tomorrow? The third quarter of next week? What do you mean?
Oh, no. Third quarter is third quarter. But truth be told, I don't know that we do get things done. But yes, on your timetable sometimes and my timetable are not the same.
Not really. I get it. My timetable sometimes is not realistic. I get it.
And I like it. But you get it, right? So it's important to have that communication, right? So I feel like, and we stumbled a lot in the beginning this go around because, I think we mentioned before in the last episode that when we had our other company, it was much easier to stay in our own lanes, right? There was not very much crossover at all, but there is a lot of crossover here when we're doing things. And because of time and having to position you in a way that you were doing what you need to be doing, that time, like I'm managing that time, right? I'm managing it for us and our employees and stuff. And I'm kind of keeping you out of it. So you're kind of surprised when you jump back in it and I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
So
more than once I've been surprised about, wait a second. What do you mean we can't do this because this person is doing that? When did that happen? Well, I made an executive decision, she'll tell me. And I'm like, oh, okay. I understand why that happened now. Okay. So who's going to do this for me?
Exactly.
You're going to do this for you. Oh, no.
So I just want to, while we're going on this is kind of a new platform for us. So I want to recognize those of y'all who are hopping on from Facebook and LinkedIn. Christopher, thanks so much for hopping on and giving us a big shout out. Hello and Happy New Year to you. So this is a new venture for us. We're just kind of walking our process for everyone because we believe that if it is in your heart to kind of take on a business with your spouse or your partner or a family member, that you should have some support, and we're here to kind of vocalize and do that. So one of the great things that we're going over here is kind of how to manage expectations when you have someone in a creative role and then you have the negative Nelly, the process princess, come in and just slash your dreams. And not really slash your dreams, but really walk through what it's going to take to implement the process out. A lot of times with what we do, we have a very forward product, which requires a lot of education and a lot of follow up and making sure that people understand it and they're excited about it as we are. So when Harlan, for me, when Harlan comes out and he comes with these ideas, my first thing is like my mental note check. And then sometimes I have to learn to internalize that note checker and not come out with the first thing that comes out of my brain to mouth, right? I need to filter some of my thought process and then come back and then balance the positive with the process, right? Balance the idea and the creativity with what the real life expectation is going forward. A lot of times we don't control all the pieces and parts. We have a enrollment platform. I can't get in there and code for people as much as I would love to be able to do that. So we're beholden to that process and whatever that timeline looks like. Engagement, we have to, it's one thing to come with an idea, but it's another thing to build and develop an engagement platform and plan in place to move that product forward and make sure people understand it and know how it works and how to utilize it, both from a member side and a broker side on how to sell it. Because it's great that you have this, we'll call it this great mousetrap, right? But it's, it doesn't really do you any good if you're the only person that knows how to use it and how to work it. So I think it's really important to find that balance when you're doing things, and looking at that always.
I want to point something else out there because obviously this is married to your business partner, and that business partner can be anywhere across the spectrum. So you mentioned earlier about dealing with employees and other things. Whenever you're the boss, whatever that sounds like, whatever that works for you, right? Whenever you're the boss and you're working with a traditional employee boss relationship, you give assignments and those assignments are carried out. And there's typically not a lot of pushback when it's just an employee-employer relationship.
Mm-hmm.
But when you have a family member that's working close with you, and those lines of who the boss are can become very fuzzed. And that can even be the case whenever you're working with your kids and when you're working with other family members. We're very blessed to have my son, his wife, my Kelly's sister, my sister-in-law working with us as well. And those family lines can be difficult to cross. And there's sometimes there's difficult conversations that have to be had too. But the thing about working with family is, who else can you imagine would be as invested in your success as your family would be? And that's why I think a lot of folks that have had the opportunity to work with family wouldn't do it any other way, because you get to celebrate those successes. There are a lot of difficulties that can come with that. The separation of church and state, as it were, the separation of work and business.
Yes.
That you simply have a hard time going across. But it falls right into also this creativity and implementation, especially, and this is when it can really get you, whenever family members start choosing sides. I know that sounds crazy, but it can literally happen in a situation where you have multiple family members and all of a sudden you're getting ganged up on, or you're ganging up on somebody else. And you've got to be careful of that, because that's where you can really, you can damage the relationships in both ways, because then someone can feel like that that everyone's against me. And that's the dangerous part that can be, I think, pulled over into that personal life as well.
Yeah, definitely. Um, you know, we've been doing this a long time, and I think that the idea of communication has come a long way, right? We started out our relationship as a married couple, and you hear communication is key. But I think that when translating that into business, um, it becomes very important. And I think what has really helped me is, I've worked and did a lot of research and worked with people on empathetic listening, right? Empathetic listening. So it's a lot of taking the taskmaster and the ego out of things and really looking and listening to what that other person is saying. Then taking the time to digest and understand what they're coming to you with, and then realizing that you can't be the round hole that you're going to force all the square pegs into, right? So you got to make sure that even though your process works for you, you've got to figure out how to make that process work for each person, and really look at what that looks like. Do you have a very uh, detail oriented person that really likes checklist, or do you have a person that really absorbs via listening and working through a problem with you, working through the knowledge with you? Do you have somebody that just would rather, what is it that was always the bloody nose technique? Do they like to take it, I got this, and then bam, and then, okay, now I'm ready to listen. So it's kind of looking at each piece of that, figuring out who they are and knowing how to communicate effectively with that team member.
Yeah, and I think that listening empathetically is the key there. Do yourself a favor and think about this the next time you're listening to anybody, whether it's family, whether it's sitting at work, I don't care what you're listening to. Are you listening? Really? Are you listening? Or are you listening, waiting for your first opportunity to respond? Because you already know what you're going to say. I've already got it made up. I already know what I'm going to say. If that's what you're doing, you are not listening. You are not listening. The person's not done talking. The facts have not been fully stated. Things are not out there yet for you to give a true response for.
Yeah.
You're not listening. You're just responding to spoken words with the first thing that comes to your mind. That is not empathetic listening. In fact, it's not even really listening. It is you looking, I'm waiting for my shot. Right? I'm waiting. Well, just as soon as they close their mouth, or in many cases, you just don't wait. You simply cannot wait any longer for them to finish what they want to say. And that's a tough deal because you do that in work and it angers people. You do that in your family life. And then with family that you're working with, people believe that they don't matter. People believe that the words that they have to say that you don't respect them or bring anything to the table.
It's a me.
And I've caught myself doing that so many times, to you and to other folks because I'm the expert. I'm the one that's been in this industry this long. I see all the problems. I don't need you telling me anything. That is so stupid because I know what it is from my point of view, but that doesn't give me any insight on the way that you see it. You're a consumer. Hell, you've consumed more healthcare than I ever have in my life, and hopefully ever will. But that's neither here nor there. You have a totally different perspective because of many different reasons. Me not listening to you does myself, our company, and quite honestly, potentially our clients a disservice. We're not listening to you. So, being an active, engaged, and empathetic listener, if you're not that, it's going to be tough for you to work with anyone. It's going to be tough for you to listen to yourself because you want to dismiss what your own mind's telling you. You're like, I know better than that. I know better than me.
Yeah, I've done this, been here. But no,
Right.
you are correct. And it just goes to say that it's recognizing there's a process to everything, right? That it takes time, it takes thought. And, when we're working our processes, a lot of times, um, because I said we've been completely honest with people here, and for those of you who know us, we're two competitive spirits. We have a we embrace our mission, right? We embrace our mission, and we're going to both run to get there and win. But you got to take a step back, because that can't be the mentality, right? That's so there's the no I in team, right? That is all about being a team player. So you've got to step back and be a team player. And if it means that you've given your creative pitch, I'm wanting to say something, I have to just time myself out and say, okay, that's great, but I need to digest this for a minute. Because if I don't, I just like the filter comes off and I'm just throwing everything that's inside my head at you with no regard on how you're taking it, right? I'm just running through my mental checklist that's all processing in my head from everything that you've said. And it's just like, which is not the right thing to do. And we're learning that from one another, right? That's not the right approach. So what I have to do is then go back and think about it, right? And put pen to paper and really digest what it's going to take to move this vision forward, whatever that is. So definitely be cognizant of your partner. And that's in any working relationship, right? Respect their process. So even though their process isn't your process, it's learning to respect the process, right? For each individual. Communicate effectively in the manner that they like, right? So that's super important. And do we get it right every time? Absolutely not. I don't know. I'd say we're at a C, maybe a B minus. Yeah. So definitely we do not get it right every time, but we catch ourselves a lot quicker now than we did in the past when we first started.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I was going to mention, I'm glad you brought that up, that we don't get it right every time, because there has been, both in the creativity process and the implementation process, that both of us have come up with ideas that the other one didn't agree with, but capitulated and said, okay, go ahead, we'll give it a shot. That did not work out at all. And there's been the other side, though. We've hit home runs off of it too.
Yeah.
We've had ideas that come up that we thought this is going to be really good. And it wasn't just really good. It was, in some cases, game changing for the company. So sometimes you just don't know. I mean, some of the greatest ideas I think that we've ever had went plop, or we ended up never implementing them, because through the process of really looking at that idea and going to where it was going to be implemented, we realized this is not going to work. This is not, while on paper, this looks awesome, the actual implementation of this either is beyond, quite honestly, I know this sounds crazy, is beyond what is technologically possible right now. Maybe not somewhere, but for us anyway, or it's just too big of a bite off that elephant. We know we're eating that elephant a little bit, but sometimes your mouth just ain't big enough to bite that piece of that elephant off of there. And so for different reasons, we've stopped before we've implemented certain things, but it was all very good parts of those processes. It was all great that it went all the way from that creativity to the little changes that happened there to an implementation process. If we didn't have those processes, I ain't a fan of processes, my wife will tell you that. But if we didn't have those processes in place, there's a very good chance we'd have thrown something out there that could have caused problems. It could have, put us in financial issues. It could have put us in a position where we were not putting out the best product and not putting out something that would have benefited folks. And so I think that those processes, as my wife will tell you time and time again, those processes are very, very necessary. And all right, I'm starting to buy into it a little bit. I'm giving processes a D plus, right? See, they're up from a D minus. I'm giving them a D plus right now for processes. Not our processes, just processes in general.
Just how you feel about a process. It's moved from the F field to
a D minus.
the D
That's
minus,
a
and
D
that's
plus.
okay
It's a
because you
D
know what?
plus.
It's understanding where you're good at things and where you're not good at things. So, you know, one of the hurdles that we work is, and this has always been a thing for you, is not documenting, and this has gotten much better with technology, may I say, but not documenting where you are with somebody when you're working in a team. So that way your team can know where you left off, and then we need to pick up and move forward. So if you don't, unfortunately, if you don't start the process, then we can't move the process forward. So it's really,
Right.
it's, and some things are harder than others, right? That's extremely hard for you to do. It doesn't resonate. It doesn't,
Right.
you don't, that's not part of your internal check for you to move on, because your responsibility to whatever that is doesn't stops, right? It just stops. You're not having to pick it back up a few steps into it all. You're just having to stop it all. So it's really paying attention to what those are, and then knowing that it may not happen tomorrow, right? So I may say, and I need you to do this now, but I need to realize that I'm going to have to say I need you to do this now, like 13 more times, 21 more times to form a new habit.
Mm.
Whichever philosophy you hold into, but yes, so it's just important, and we feel like, you know, this is something that we love doing. We love working with each other, and anything that we can give to anybody out there, that's why we're doing this, is just to kind of walk you through our process, let you know that we genuinely believe in the family dynamic and the business, and we believe in what we do. And that's what is so wonderful, is to believe in what we do and to understand the mission and to know that you're able to use your servant's heart out there and move stuff forward. So we're really just enjoying what we're doing and just trying to share a little bit along the way.
Absolutely. I'm not going to go down any other rabbit holes. I know we're at time right now. There's plenty of other conversations we can have, not just about this subject, about some of the many other things. I hope you guys do get something out of it. I hope you understand that we're just here trying to support any other folks that are working together, whether you're working with your spouse, your brother, your sister, your mom, your dad, your cousin, your best friend. All of those are family-like dynamics, and we're huge supporters of those family businesses. We are one, and so we want to do whatever we can to help you out. So don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions. And so I really do appreciate everyone tuning in and just sharing this with us.
Yes, definitely. Thank you guys for being here. We'll be doing this again. We're going to do it twice a week, or I'm sorry, twice a month. So our next, not twice a week. Sorry, didn't mean to give Harlan a heart attack there. So our next one is scheduled for
29th.
the 29th at 12:30. So we're going to 29th, 12:30 Central Standard Time. Be looking for our announcements to come out. We'll do this again and just share with everybody what we've got going on and what we're working on. Failure, success, we're here to be transparent and look forward to seeing you then. So thank you guys so much for joining in. Look forward to seeing you on the 29th. Is that right?
Go Texans.
Go Texans. Go Texans. All right. Bye, everybody. Have a wonderful evening.